Sports all plays. Hard sports all plays. Hard sports all plays. 365, we making up plays. You talking the game, get you through the days. We're high in the court, the dime in the lane. Variety topics living the same. All presentation, sports information. In the airways, taking the nation. Sport all plays, like working your faces. Grace at the field, so tie the laces. Hard sports all plays.
What is going on, everybody? As you know, our boy Gonzo's still not back yet. He's in the hospital for going on now the third day with flu and dehydration. And, we just hope that he gets better soon so he can get back to his family and, do the things that he wants to be able to do. Obviously, Frankie's not here. He's still working. But that's all right because we got my always faithful co-host, Mr. Logan Landers. Say what's up to the people, my brother.
What's up to the people? Glad to be back. Took Tuesday off. Felt like I got ran over by a bus, but I have enough willpower tonight, Jay McLovin, through the power of H2O, hydration, some sports energy drinks, and a ton of crackers and soup. I have appeared tonight on the show. And like you said, man, we're hoping that that Chris can get home soon. And can get all this awful sickness he's got, get it under wraps, and we can see him back on the show. We can rag him about his Reds in the near future.
Yes, absolutely. God knows I've been taking lots of crap over my team here lately. It's been pretty rough there, Logan. Pretty rough.
Oh, I know it has.
It's been rough, man. I tell you, we got off to a rough start. We kind of came out the gate swinging, and in the last couple of games, we just have not been playing our best baseball. I don't know if that's a direct casualty hit because we lost Greinke and we lost Springer and we lost Correa, and now maybe it's just kind of catching up to us. It just is what it is. Hopefully the Astros can get back in the positive and right that ship. A couple of things before we get into the show I wanted to talk about a little bit was, speaking in baseball, history was denied. Miggy fell one hit shy of 3,000. Man.
And Jay, you got to bring up why he couldn't get that final at bat.
I was just getting ready to get that. I just wanted to let it sink in that history was denied because he basically got the
fault. By the way, we're putting this on Frankie.
Yeah, it really is all Frankie's fault. No, he got the intentional walk. I guess they didn't want him making history on their ball club, so they went ahead and walked him. It is what it is. Hey, man, it's baseball, and they're not going to let them, But I still I think it's a cowardly approach to the Yankees. I will say
the best part is that immediately after he got walked, I forget who the next batter is. He got like a two-run RBI. So. That's karma for you, right? That's the baseball gods looking down and frowning upon you.
Yeah, and I get it, man. They don't want to be the guy that allows that history-making moment to happen. But at the same time, come on, man, it's baseball. Play, challenge them. People don't pay money to see intentional walks. They pay to see good pitching, good hitting, good fielding, good base running. They don't want to see this intentional strategic walk because you want this. And I think you're kind of gypping the fans of their money, to be quite honest.
There's a reason that there's that many fans at the Tigers game right now. Let's be real.
Yeah, absolutely. And the second thing I wanted to kind of talk about for a second was Mike Tyson. On the airplane. Little fan up behind him, all up in his grill, talking to him, shouting with him, jawing with him. wanting his autograph, this, that, and the other. And at first, Mike was kind of cool with it. Hey, no harm, no foul. It's all good. We're good. But then I think it just got to a point where Mike just got really annoyed. And then after Mike got annoyed, he decided he had had enough. And he went back to the old school Mike Tyson biting the ear ways and commenced to beat the crap out of the passenger sitting behind him. So the guy is bleeding from the forehead. Now, I don't know what they're going to do to Mike Tyson. The police haven't quite come out and said what they're going to do about it. I would imagine, he may, he could either get a slap on the wrist. He could probably get a minor assault battery, whatever. Maybe he has to pay a fine, do a little probation, whatever. But, man, it's good to have the old Mike back. What do you think, Logan?
It's a crazy video. If you haven't seen it, go look for it. It's insane. It's only about a minute long. It's a guy who is just, I don't know if he's on something or drunk. I don't know what it is, Jay.
Yeah.
But he decided to pick a fight with probably one of, if not the best boxer of all time.
Right.
Why
Not a good
do you have
move.
that death wish, sir? I can't tell you. But he was poking the bear. Mike was, he was taking it for a while. And then all of a sudden you see a cut to a next video, and then they're just pounding away on him.
Oh, yeah.
And then you see the blood coming out of the forehead. And I will say, if you're that guy, you will have a legendary story to tell for the rest of your life. Other than that, I'm sure he might end up in jail for, I don't know what was said. I'm sure Tyson might go after. I don't know. We'll see how the fallout is. I mean, I don't think Tyson will get arrested for anything, if just depending on what all was said. But I was not expecting to see this morning or last night or whenever it was that Mike Tyson and whoever is near him, his bodyguard or friend or whoever, was just laying in lefts and rights on this on this annoying passenger on an airplane. Also, what is Mike Tyson doing on a commercial airplane? Why isn't he on his own private jet? Come on.
You would think
what's
that's
going
what
on here?
I would have thought. Honestly, that's what I would have thought. I just thought it was interesting, and I was just trying to put myself, if I'm one of the passengers on the plane and I see this going down, I'm thinking like, man, I got the best ringside seats ever.
Oh, that was the dude recording it. That was the guy who recorded it. He's like, man, this is gonna be gold. He's gonna sell that video for $1 million.
Oh, I'm sure ESPN gave him a good chunk of money for that video. I promise you.
Oh, no doubt.
All right, folks. Without further ado, we're going to jump right into these NBA playoffs. And, it's been crazy. First of all, just to talk about a few of the injuries before we dive into the games. You got Middleton. Now he's out with an MCL sprain, probably going to be, 3 weeks, probably miss a whole series. Hopefully he can even come back, because you never know what they might say about the sprain. So, but that's obviously a big blow to the Bucks. And then you had Devin Booker, who had a hamstring strain. Looked like he's going to be possibly out games 3 and 4. And they say typically it would be like 3 weeks, but I think they're going to push him to come back and try to get him back in there early. I don't know if that's the wisest move to do, but I think that's what it sounds like they're going to do. Logan, do you still think that these injuries could possibly, derail their teams?
I don't know. It's going to be interesting because we saw that, DeRozan had 41 the other night, which was a phenomenal game. Just a all-around great game for him. Happy for him, by the way. And, we knew that Chicago, coming into the playoffs, they have not had a very good record against really good teams this year. That's just facts. And, DeMar said, I'm tired of that narrative, and he put on a show, and they beat the Bucks last night. It was a close one. Even when DeMar scored 40, it was a close game. Let's not get it twisted now. So the real question, Jay, becomes, now that Middleton is going to be out for, at minimum, the remainder of this series, we know that for sure. Who is going to be that second-hand man to step up and replace Chris Middleton? Is it going to be a Drew Holiday? Is it going to be a Wesley Matthews? Is it going to be some other guy off the bench, perhaps?
Right.
That's going to be the big takeaway for me, because even though DeRozan scored 41, they only won by 4 points. So I think overall, I still believe the Bucks are going to take this series, but I do think it's going to be it could be extended now to maybe 6 games instead of 5. You never know. I think that the Bulls are going to put up a little bit more of a fight now. Now that the Bucks are missing their second piece, which, I mean, Middleton has proven. I forget which was it last year, Jay, that he got hurt in the playoffs, I believe.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah,
it wasn't as severe, but yeah.
Right. So hopefully Chris can come back. He's a great player. But as for the Suns with Booker, we know the Pelicans the other night they showed some fight. They got the good win on Tuesday. They beat them by 11. Ingram had a great game, scored almost 40. And I still think, I mean, I think we all agree that the Suns are going to go deep in these playoffs. If they get knocked out in this first round, that is a horrific way into the season. Robert Scott, what's going on? He said Bulls in 5. I don't know. All right. So he's got them winning 4 he's got them win the next 4, Jay.
Right.
We'll see. So I think that when you look at which one is going to hurt the team worst, I think Middleton is, because I think that the Suns, even without if Paul wasn't there, if Booker wasn't there, I think that the Suns team still stacks up. So I think it's going to hurt the Bucks more, but I still think both teams are too strong, and I think both of them are still going to advance into the second round.
Yeah, we'll talk about this Bulls-Bucks game starting off since Robert's on here talking all kinds of craziness about the Bulls in 5, and that's for you, Jay, because, he made that comment because I've been calling the Bulls pretenders for a hot minute now, that they couldn't beat the top echelon type teams, that, they were basically feeding off of the bottom feeder teams to get where they are in the playoffs and their positioning and so forth. So, yeah, I get it, Rob. Hey, man. Hey, I get it. And I love you too, man. I'm glad to see you're better and out of the hospital and back on the show and work. That's all good, man. Our prayers have been answered. Hopefully Gonzo gets that same result. But back to this game. So the Bulls beat the Bucks 114-110. They tied this series up at 1 apiece. They're going back to Chicago, and they did lose for that game anyway. The Bucks lost Portis. He got hit in the face. He couldn't come back. He was done, and so he didn't play the rest of that game. I do believe he'll be back in Game 3, but obviously they did lose Middleton in that game as well to a slip. And obviously, like you said, the MCL injury, he's probably out the rest of this series. I would have to imagine the Bucks are going to have to, like you said, win this without him. And who will be the next man to step up? Because DeRozan, he's out here ready to go. He is ready to go, man. Listen, DeRozan went 16-31, shot 50% from the line, or from field goal percentage, 41 points, 7 boards, and 4 assists. A damn good game by him. Vucevic came out and put up 10 of 18 for 24, put up a lot of rebounds at 13 and 2 assists. Yeah, Caruso, who came out and did 3 of 8 shooting, but had 10 assists. So he definitely hooked up on the assist side of things and helped get other people involved. And then you had Levine, went 7 of 13, shot just above 50% as well, for 20 points, a board, and 3. And he made 3 out of 4 at the 3-point line. So Levine was shooting lights out. I mean, all in all, the Bulls, they just came to play, man. They were shooting the ball well, and they were ready to go, man. And the Bucks they had a couple of injuries, but Middleton was still there for 6 of 11 for 18 points. You had Giannis, 11 of 20 for 33, 18 rebounds and 9. So Giannis had a good night, but then you had Lopez, who came in at 9 of 15 for 25 points, 5 rebounds, and 1 assist. But the real thing there was Holiday. Holiday only put up 6 of 16, under 50% shooting for 15, 6, and 6. And I think that's kind of what hurt them ultimately. They lost by 4. And I think that if Holiday would have been shooting the ball better, which, like we always said, the next man up, who has to be the number 2 guy, is going to have to be Holiday. And even if he's not even the next man up at Holiday, maybe Lopez, maybe they control the ball in the paint. Maybe Lopez is that next guy up. Holiday still has to be a contributing factor and shoot better than probably 30%. So I think the rock in this game was the injuries, but also I think it was Holiday's lack of shooting, and I just think DeRozan came to play, bro.
Yeah, and I think too. I mean, the Bucks have a terrific head coach with Mike Budenholzer, right? We all know his career under Popovich for all those years. Had a great couple of seasons with the Hawks, been with the Bucks for a few seasons. Won the championship last year, obviously in 21. Two-time Coach of the Year. So he'll know how to. He's dealt with this before, and he'll know how to work around it, I'm sure. And like I said, I mean, there's a reason. Going back to DeRozan before we move on. There's a reason that, for probably the first, at least more likely the first half of the season, we were all thinking that DeRozan was a potential MVP candidate because, I mean, he is a very good player. He's always been a good player, but this year he really stepped it up, and he showed that once again in the playoffs when, I mean, they really needed this game. I mean, I get that it was only the second game, but I mean, even if you go down 2-0, it's still tough to come back from.
I think in DeMar DeRozan's case, it's just that he's just been in the shadows for so long, not by choice. It's just his game just isn't as flashy as a lot of other people has been. So he's just kind of been under the radar type of guy, put up good numbers, but just always under the radar. And I think, with this Bulls team being in the championship, being the number one guy now he's at obviously a bigger market, more eyes on him. And now he's showing that, hey, I've always been here. Y'all just weren't seeing me. And now it's time to see me. And hopefully he keeps it up. He's going to have to be consistent. For this Bulls team to beat the Bucks, they're going to need exactly all of DeMar DeRozan throughout the rest of this series if they want to have a chance. So we'll see if the Bulls can keep it up. I don't know. Bulls at 5, that's a little aggressive there, Robert, but we'll see. Then we kind of move on to the Hawks and the Heat. They lost. The Heat won and took a 2-0 lead over the Hawks, 115-105. Unfortunately, Logan, I just don't know if your team has enough to do it, brother. I think what's hurting you though is Young. Trae Young is just kind of I don't know, man. Something's just not clicking right.
I think
for Trae Young.
I think obviously the first game he shot horrific. Last night, I mean, the other night he shot fine, but it's just he had a bunch of turnovers, right?
Right.
And I think, especially with the second game, I'm just going to talk more about the recent one, is with Capella out for who knows how long.
Right.
With Collins still trying to get all the way back healthy because he still isn't all the way back yet. And I mean, they don't have – Bogdanovich and Herter, they were doing really good last year, but they'll need to step it up again this year. And I think Trae is just trying to do maybe a little bit too much with the ball and try and put too much weight on his shoulders. Because, we know we've seen it this year. We've seen it in the play-in games. We saw it last year, what he can do when the game is on the line, when the series is on the line. He can really perform in clutch moments. And I just think that even though the series is down 2-0 for them, that there is still time, obviously. There's still a couple games left for them to right the ship. They don't play tonight, I don't believe. They play, maybe Friday or Saturday. But, there's a reason the Heat are the number one seed, right? There's a reason that the Hawks were the 10 or 11 seed. So they knew it was going to be tough. The Hawks knew it was going to be a tough fight. And, like I said, man, shout out to the Miami Heat because let's not forget, Jay, this isn't a team of a bunch of really big free agents, right? It's Jimmy Butler, it's Kyle Lowry, it's a few other guys, but it's mostly just a bunch of guys they've drafted or even undrafted guys. Like it's a lot of kind of homegrown talent there in Miami, and they've done a stellar job of having that team be a 1 seed for as long as they have been. And they're looking good so far in the playoffs. But like you were saying, I am a Hawks fan. And I hope that they can at least maybe turn it around and make this a more competitive series moving on forward.
And here's the deal. So Robert Scott is basically asking the question, is Trae overrated? And I don't think he is overrated. And I say that I don't think he's overrated because of a couple of things. Number one, he did get the most points in a season. He didn't average the most per game, but but he did score the most points in the season. So he is putting the ball in the hoop. And let's be honest, last year that Hawks team, as far as how far they went in the playoffs, was because of Trae Young and how well Trae Young was playing. It's just, I think in this playoffs, he just hit some kind of wall and just has not been able to do what he's doing in the playoffs.
Robert, if Trae Young was on the Los Angeles Lakers, everyone would be garnering around him for media interviews left and right. But Atlanta is a great city for everything except for basketball. And I mean that because there isn't a whole lot of media attention in Atlanta, Jay. I don't know why. Atlanta's a very big city. And Trae just, I don't know. It feels like Atlanta's a small market team in a way, you know? They never really get the big free agents. They never, they mostly draft for all their players. And, I mean, obviously, no, Trae Young is not overrated. There is no way. Not at all.
And, and the thing is, too, I think with the Hawks, Bogdanovich is actually showing up. Honestly,
yeah, he's done really good lately.
Yeah, in this playoffs, Bogdanovich is probably the one that's keeping you in it because he went, for example, he went 12 of 18 last night for 29, 4, and 3. I mean, he's putting up the points, he's putting up the field goal percentage. But what hurts you guys the most was your 19 turnovers.
Yeah,
and 10 of those turnovers were from Trae Young.
Hard to win with that.
They went 12 of 40 at the 3-point line. So that's really what kind of hurt you. And Herter and Gallinari were kind of pretty much non-factors. And then you throw in Butler, who went off for a career-type game, at 15 of 25 for 45, 5, and 5. I mean, dang. I mean, it's hard to beat a Miami team when you got 19 turnovers and – you're not even shooting at 50% at the 3-point line. You're probably shooting more like around the 20% or 30% at the 3-point line. And it's just the turnovers. The turnovers are what killed you.
Yeah, and I mean, they definitely need to cut down on that. And I think that they've gotten beat 2 games in a row. I think that this is obviously a pivotal game. It isn't do or die quite yet. This is not the Toronto Raptors, which we'll talk about in a minute. So, I mean, they still got a little bit of breathing room before it's time to hit the panic button.
Right.
But they definitely, I think, they need to get this win in Game 3 if they want to still make this a series.
And then, of course, we'll move on to of course, Robert says he's just asking. I don't think Robert thinks he's overrated, but he says Trae has to stop with the logo. I agree. The logo 3. If it's a desperation heave because the clock is expired, okay, I get what it is. But to use that as your main type of shot, obviously the low percentage of making that is just crazy. And I think you could probably set up for a better shot to try to hit a logo 3. So, Trae, I do agree with that. Moving on to the Nets and Celtics, Boston took a 2-0 lead again, beating the Nets 114-107, and Pride has got to be just loving this. The Nets came out strong, but they kind of faded in the second half. Durant went 4 of 17 for 27, 4, and 5. Irvin went 4 of 13 for 10, 8, and 1. And that just doesn't get it done. When your number 1 and 2 guys are combining for 37 points on 8 of 30, I mean, come on, man. Like, what do you expect? You can't win when you're. I told you the only way Boston can win a title is if they have lights out performances for both Durant and Irving. It has to be that way. And of course, Durant is still continuing to struggle. Irving had a good night the first night, but then he comes back and has a horrible night last night. And it's just you can't win like that. Boston got solid play from their starting 5. And I just think, the Nets they just need perfect play from their guys, and they're just not getting it. And I really think that's where the rubber meets the road is with Kyrie Irving and Durant. They've got to play perfect games, Logan.
It's crazy, Jay, because I think Durant went 0 of 10 in the second half.
Yeah.
I mean, if you give the guy the ball 17 times, he's only made it 4. At what point do you just stop?
You know what I'm saying?
And I get with Kyrie, that's your point guard and all. He went 4 of 13 also, not a very good night.
I mean, but I'm more kind of worried looking at the stats here. The Brooklyn Nets only had 16 assists the whole night. The entire night, they only had 16 assists. Guess how many Kyrie Irving was responsible for in 40 minutes of play?
It wasn't much.
1 assist.
Yeah, it wasn't much.
The leading assist tallier was Kevin Durant with 5. You can't win like that. You really can't, especially if you're shooting the ball as poor as both of them did. Luckily, Durant made up for it at the free throw line by hitting 18 and 20, so that at least made him look better in the stats category. But I'm kind of confused, Jay. Why didn't they give the ball more to Brown, to Curry? Because both of those guys were hitting in the first half.
Yeah, absolutely they were
leading scores at halftime.
Yeah, Brown went 8 for 12, and Curry went 6 for 11.
Yeah,
and obviously Curry was 4 of 6 at the 3-point line. So and Brown was 3 of 4 from the 3-point line. Yeah. And then you look at Durant, who's Durant still did 1 of 2, but he didn't shoot very much. He went 1 of 2 at the 3-point, and Irving went 0 of 1. So Irving and Durant weren't even really shooting the 3-ball much, but the ones that were shooting the 3-ball were doing quite well at it.
If it wasn't for Goran Dragic picking the weight off the bench, had a great night, 8 of 14 with 18 points. I mean, this would have been a complete blowout.
Right.
It really would have. But like you said, the Celtics had a great game. They played a really good defense. I mean, Durant looked uncomfortable the whole night. And, I mean, it looks like they might have figured out a way to stop him for the time being. I'm sure as great of an offensive player he is, I'm sure he'll find a way. But, I mean, it's not like the Celtics. I mean, Tatum had an okay night, right? 5 of 16, not the best. Horford, surprising, 16.6 of 10. Tice looking good, 7 of 9. Smart, we know he's not much of an offensive player. And then Brown with 9 of 18 for 22. I mean, the whole starting 5, plus Williams off the bench, which is a big piece for both sides of the ball. He had 17, also was really good on defense. Right. I mean, the Celtics, I mean, I get that they are a higher seed, obviously, but I think that with the injury that they had to their big man, and we knew he was going to be out for the rest of the year with Williams, that I think everyone's just like, all right, well, Brooklyn will just kind of coast by and get through this. But no, I mean, Boston, they're proving that they're a really good team. And it's a team, Jay. It's a team, and not just 2 or 3 players like Brooklyn kind of is.
Right. And also I want to point out is the fact I felt like they also did not get Andre Drummond involved nowhere nearly enough in the offense. I mean, he put up he went 2 for 4 and had 4 rebounds for 5 points. Yeah. I feel like they could have used him more in the paint to try to get down low and get some of those easy buckets in the paint. Or even, I just feel like they're not utilizing them nowhere near enough. I think they're trying to rely too much on that outside shooting and not giving their big man enough love down low.
Yeah, I mean Drummond, for his career, he's been a solid player. This year he averaged, 7 points, 9 boards. That's solid. Right. But especially like you said, when your top 2 guys are struggling, why not feed him the ball more? And why not see if he can help out? But like I said, I was telling you on the group chat last night, Jay. I mean, Steve Nash did not make any adjustments whatsoever that game.
No, he did not.
That is why they lost. That is why they lost, because I saw it, and I can't remember off the top of my head, but like the last 10 or 12 games Durant's played for the regular season and in the playoffs, he's played like about 35 to 40 minutes in every single one. So he might be getting tired again. I mean, we saw it last year. They just played his life out. They played him way too much. I mean, I know he's not LeBron. He's not super old, but he doesn't have those fresh young legs anymore, Jay. He was drafted in 06? So, I mean, you can't be throwing him out there for super long, especially late in the season, and expect him to carry your ball club all the time. So
exactly.
We'll see. We'll see how it is. But yeah, overall, great win by the Celtics, though.
Oh, hell yeah. I mean, Celtics they're showing who they are right now, and they're looking pretty good. We turn our attention over to the next game, 76ers and Raptors. obviously 76ers got a 3-0 lead right now, so they're playing incredibly well, and they know they don't need Thibault right now or anybody else truly because they're in Toronto currently playing, and they're kicking the crap out of them even in Toronto. And of course they won on Embiid's game-winning 3 in overtime, 104-101. So Toronto did play them hard. It's just it wasn't enough. And, obviously the Sixers got solid play from all of their starters. And like I said, Embiid went 12 of 20 for 33, 13.
Well, it looks like we have lost Jay McLovin, everybody. We hope he will get back soon. But while we wait for him to come back, I will finish what Jay was saying, talking about the 76ers and the Toronto Raptors. So, like I said, overtime game, close one, but the Sixers got the win on that clutch Joel Embiid 3-point shot that I'm sure you've all seen by now. It looks like he wasn't really even guarded heavily. I know they had, I believe, Van Fleet try and get him at the last second, but, do you really want him on him? A point guard on a 7-foot center? Not so much. We'll look at the box scores just to kill some time while we wait for Jay to either A, plug his computer back in, or B, his internet has went to shambles, and we will try and figure out what to do with the rest of the show. But let's keep it going here. So for the Sixers, like you mentioned, Embiid had 33, phenomenal night. Maxey, big time point guard, 19 points as well. Harden with a low key 19, 7 of 13 shooting, 3 of 5 from the free throw line, 2 of 4 from 3, and then Niang off the bench with a cool 9. Looking over at the Toronto Raptors, Siakam, Spicy P, not a great night. 6 of 16 shooting, 12 points only, and then 0 of 2 from 3, not the greatest. OG Anunoby, 8 of 18, also not great shooting. 4 of 9 from 3, so made up from it there a little bit. 6 of 9 from the free throw line. I'll talk more about the free throws in a second. Led the team with 26 points. Second on team in points was Gary Trent Jr. With 24, like I said. 4 of 9 from the three-point line as well. 9 of 19 from the field, so not the best there. And then Van Fleet had a horrible night. Very bad. 3 of 13 shooting from the field. 2 of 10 from 3. So not a great night for that young man. If it wasn't for Precious Achiuwa, Jay, he went 9 of 11 from the field with 20 points. This would have been a complete blowout. It would have not went to overtime. And the reason Jay went to overtime is because the Toronto Raptors blew their shot, because they could have gotten a lead in this game in the fourth quarter if they just hit their free throws.
Yeah, exactly. And as you pointed out,
3-0.
Exactly. And as you point out, it was a poor shooting by Toronto that really, like you said, just did them in. You can't win when you're shooting, probably like in the mid 30%, 8 of 18, 3 of 13, 9 of 19. Come on, 6 of 16. You can't win like that. There's just no way you're going to win. And, like I said, Harden went 7 of 13. So he shoot. So Embiid and Harden, everybody on Philadelphia's side, they're doing their job. They're hitting their shots. And Toronto is just killing themselves just by shooting poorly. And, look, let's be honest. Toronto's dead in the water, man. I would not be surprised if
this is their last hurrah, Jay. I think they're done for.
Yeah, I would not be surprised if they get swept for it. Another, I just don't think they just don't have the answer. Number one for the Sixers, and number two, even with their own team themselves, just their shooting alone is killing them. So, yeah. All right, folks, we will transition from the Sixers over to we've already gone through the Hawks. I think that's most of the games we've kind of seen. We'll talk about these Wolves and Grizzlies. Currently, the Wolves are playing right now. Memphis at 0-0. With 11:35 in the game right now in the first quarter. So, obviously, this game is just barely underway. And, of course, the series is tied at 1 apiece. The night before last, the T-Wolves played the Grizzlies, and the Grizzlies did come back in Game 2 and got their vengeance over them. 124-96, just obliterated and took command over Minnesota. What a turn of events, Logan. Edwards went 7 of 16 for 20, but he had 5 turnovers. Towns went 4 of 7, so Towns really didn't shoot the ball a whole hell of a lot, which I think really kind of hurt Minnesota, quite honestly. for 15 points, but he also had 5 turnovers himself. So it's 10 turnovers between the two of their best players. And then you have D'Angelo Russell, your number 3 guy, going 3 of 11. So field goal percentage at 39% for Minnesota with 19 turnovers and 17 of 30 at the 3-point line. And that's why Minnesota lost that game. Because you had – and I don't know what happened to Adams, Logan, but he only played 3 minutes in game 2. And I didn't get to catch that part, so I don't know if he got hurt or what happened to Adams, but apparently he was out of the – he only played 3 minutes of the game. He had Morant going 9 of 16 for 23 and 10 assists, 9 boards. Jackson and Bane both put up 16 points. The Grizzlies shot 47%, but they only had 9 turnovers. So the 10 turnovers, just the turnovers alone that Minnesota committed was enough to do them in, much less their poor shooting performance. What do you think, Logan?
Yeah, so the reason Steven Adams only played 3 minutes, Jay, is because in those 3 minutes he got fouled twice, and they decided to bench him the rest of the game because they put Jaren Jackson Jr. on Karl Anthony Towns because if you remember in game 1, Towns lit him up.
Yeah.
So then you get that switch. You see that you put Jackson on him, and, Towns is only able to shoot the ball 7 times.
Right. And,
So
I guess it's probably going to be their key to success for the rest of the series at that point.
So it would. Let me look at the starting lineups right now. Let me see real quick. Also, by the way, Minnesota's up 8-0 at the moment. So yes, also all the way. So Jackson is in the starting lineup, so they're going to have Adams coming off the bench if I had to guess, if he even plays. So that is going to be the new strategy. Right now, it ain't working. They're down 8-0. The leading scorer in the game is. Hey, Patrick Beverly with 4. So,
good old Pat getting that 4 points in there, right?
I think that's the only time we'll say this on the entire show's run is Patrick Beverly was leading the game in scoring. So that's what helped, Memphis get that huge win. My God, if it wasn't for Edwards, they would have lost by 40 and not almost 30.
Right.
Just a horrific night, but they're off to a better start now. We'll see if they can continue that momentum. But if the Timberwolves want to make this a series, if they want to win this series and pull off an upset, then they have to have at least 2 of those 3 guys that you mentioned, Towns, Edwards, and Russell, have great games or all have pretty solid games. Because if they're all 3, or if even 2 of the 3 are having down games, it's going to be tough.
Yeah. And I think the key for this game truly is, and of course we just kind of started watching this game, so I haven't really been able to study it too much how it's going right now. But for this 8-0, but the key for Minnesota is just to slow down the pace of the game and not allow Memphis to get into that high flying offense. They got to get Memphis into that half court offense in order for Minnesota to be able to take advantage. Wouldn't you agree?
Oh yeah, you have to because Memphis is. They're a super young team, a team that is very confident, and I think I said this is going to be a good series. I think this is a team of Minnesota who's been trying to get in the playoffs forever, and Memphis who's they've had playoff success in the past, but they still have a super young core who's trying to make a good run at it now. So I think this is a good matchup between both these squads, and we'll see how it fares the rest of the night.
All right, folks. So the last game I believe we are covering, if I'm making sure. Yeah, the last one we're covering is the Pelicans and the Suns. And as we said earlier, Devin Booker's got that hamstring strain, so it looks like he's going to be out games 3 and 4. Currently, the series is tied at 1 apiece. The Pelicans won 3 out of 4 quarters the other night, and it showed in that 125-114 drumming of the Suns. So when you're winning 3 out of 4, Logan, you know you're going to take home the crown. And Ingram put up 13-21 for 37 points, 11 and 9. And Ingram just had a phenomenal game. Just stepped up in a big way. And the one person that I thought would step up and be that person, be that number one, clearly said, hell no, I'm going to stay in the locker room because McCollum only put up 7 of 18. Still got 23, 8, and 9, but 7 of 18 from your number one guy, or your supposed number one guy, and Ingram supposedly your number 2. Well, it didn't look like that way tonight. Then you had Valanciunas, who went 4 of 9 with 10 rebounds, 10 points, 13 rebounds, 3 assists. I apologize. So Valanciunas still got you your rebounds, but I really kind of think McCollum really hurt the Pelicans in a way. Even though the Pelicans did get the win, they're going to still require, or they're going to have to require more from McCollum if they want to keep it going. But nevertheless, they did shoot 54% from field goal percentage, and that's why they, in my opinion, that's why they got the win. They did commit 17 turnovers, and typically the Suns committed 12 turnovers. You would think that the 17 would have cost the Pelicans to lose, but in this case, the reason why those 17 turnovers, which is 5 more than what the Suns committed, the reason why it didn't hurt them is because of the lack of shooting, or, even though they shot 50%, which is not bad, but 7-11 for Bridges for 19, 2 of 11 for Crowder for 5, 5 of 16 for Paul for 17. And Booker did play well, 12 of 19 before he got hurt for 31. So Booker had a pretty good night. But Paul and Crowder and the bench really just did not do enough, even though Paul did put up 14 assists, which is great. But I think that when you go 13 of 35 from the three-point line, it was just a lack of shooting that, in my opinion, obviously in losing Booker, that really took the Suns out of the game. And congratulations to Ingram, man. What a way to step out and get 37 points, man. What do you think, Logan? Oh, by the way, Ingram was one assist away from a triple-double.
Yeah, he was. Ingram, he's always had that kind of hidden potential in a way. Happy for him to have a really good breakout game here in the playoffs. 37 points in 39 minutes, not too shabby. Like I said, McCollum had a pretty good night, 7 of 18. That's, what is that, about maybe 40-something% maybe from the field. 60% from 3, though, so that was huge. That helped them get their lead a little bit larger. Valanciunas, Jones, and Hayes, the other 3 guys on the court, they did their part. They weren't atrocious in any way, so that's always nice to see. Off the bench, not too much to speak of. Nance had 13 on 6 of 9 shootings, and solid night from him. And then, like you mentioned, for the Suns, Crowder had a horrific night, 2 of 11, didn't hit a 3-point shot, only 5 points the whole night and 6 boards. Bridges was solid, 7 of 11. Chris Paul, not the best night shooting, but he did have 14 assists, so you can kind of give him maybe a pass. And then, like you mentioned, Booker, before he went down, in only 25 minutes, had 31 points. So a great, like I said, pretty decent night for the Suns. If Booker hadn't gotten hurt, it might have been a different story. Who knows? But it's going to be interesting now that Booker's going to be out for at least 2 more games. And we'll see how they can work from this. And
Right.
I think that this is just a light speed bump for the Suns, and I think they'll bounce back.
Yeah, I honestly, I do too as well. And I think that, it's really going to come down to, they're going to have the next man up. Whoever, who actually is stepping up from who's on the depth chart behind Middleton? I did not look that information up. I don't know if while you're looking that up.
What are you trying to look up?
No, I was like, do we know who plays behind Middleton on that depth chart? Because somebody's gonna have to step up for these next 2 games behind him. And I thought I had my depth chart pulled up, and I do not. But I'm pulling it up now. I'm just curious as to who's going to step behind him for those
Looking
2
at
games.
the roster. Looking at the
It's
roster.
going to be Landry Shamet.
Okay.
That's who's second behind Devin Booker on the depth chart. So I'd have to imagine either they're going to start maybe like a Cameron Payne, or they're going to go with Shamet and maybe have Cameron Payne maybe relieve him off the bench. They do have Mikal Bridges, but Mikal Bridges is already playing the small forward spot. So I would have to imagine it would be Shamet starting with Payne probably backing him up, or Aaron Holiday backing him up off the bench.
Yeah, just next man up mentality, and we'll see who can get it done.
And I'll tell you, so just so you're tracking, so Shamet is basically averaging 8 points for the season, 1 rebound and 1 assist. So, you know, it's gonna take a lot, honestly. If he is the guy that gets the nod, it's gonna take a lot for him to replace a Devin Booker. So that means Paul's gonna have to take on extra duties. Ayton's gonna have to take on extra duties. I mean, you know, your bench is gonna have to play stellar. You know, and then Mikal Bridges. I mean, all them guys are going to have to do their roles 10 times better than what they were doing just to make up for the loss of a Devin Booker for 2 games.
Yeah, we'll see who can do it, and we'll see how Phoenix can help.
Absolutely. Moving on real quick. I just want to kind of talk about these guys right here. So we got the games that are obviously going on tonight. We got Minnesota versus Memphis. Like I said, the series is tied at 1 apiece. Currently, the score is 15-6, Minnesota over Memphis. The game is in Minnesota, and right now Minnesota is at the line. Looks like Towns is shooting free throws. I'm not putting my back on Memphis. I still feel like Memphis can pull this out. They're going to have to step up their game, obviously, being down by 10. But I'm still riding with Memphis on this, Logan. Who are you riding with?
I still think Memphis will pull this one out. I think. If there's no protest tonight, then definitely Memphis. But if there is a protest, Jay, I'm going with Minnesota because they are undefeated when a protest happens at any court. So keep that in mind.
No, I totally agree with you. Yeah, hopefully there's no protest tonight. There's been quite a bit of that going on here lately. And then the next game for this evening is going to be the Mavs versus the Jazz. Again, it's tied 1 apiece. Doncic is pretty much not going to play tonight. They have not confirmed that, but it's looking like from everything I've seen that they don't plan to have him. So they're going to have to go another game without them. Of course, this now is moved back to Jazz. So the Jazz is playing home court tonight. And they'll be hosting the Mavs. It's going to require a hell of a lot from the Mavs' part to really be able to beat the Utah Jazz. Even though the Utah Jazz, I don't have them going at all deep in the playoffs. I think that they're going to capitalize not having Doncic there. And tonight, I just think the Jazz are going to take it. They're at home. There's no Doncic. It's going to require a lot from the Mavs to get that win. And I just think the Jazz are going to be too much for because I don't think Dinwiddie, even though stepping in at 15 points versus 28, like I said, at the 13-point disparage, I just think the Jazz are going to take advantage of that. And I think they do kind of walk away with the win and go up 2-1 going into game 4. What do you think, Logan?
If the Jazz don't take advantage of Luka being out again and not getting this win, I don't think they're going to go far. Absolutely. These are the opportunities you have to excel on. A team's number 1 player is out. You have to win these games. If you don't, you're not going to exceed, and you're not going to go very far in the playoffs.
Oh, I totally agree with that. Totally agree. And, of course, the last game for this evening, the late game, will be the Warriors and Nuggets. Golden State is up 2-0 in the series right now. And Curry is expected to have his playing time increased. I think he was playing 20 minutes, so you may see him get close to 30 minutes going into tonight. And, of course, as you know, Curry has actually been doing and playing quite well, coming off the bench, scored over 20 points. So Curry's actually playing really, really good ball right now, just coming off the bench to join what is already a pretty good death squad too. And for those reasons, I love Joker. I really do. But I don't think him and Donovan Mitchell – not Donovan Mitchell, that's the Jazz. I don't think him and Mike Conley, because what is it? Porter Jr. and I think it's Murray. Is it Porter Jr. and Murray are both out, correct?
Yep, they're both. You're not going to see them.
Right. So being that they're depleted, 2 of their major stars or 2 of their major players, and it's just basically Conley and Joker taking on the death squad. Let's just be honest and call it what it is. And Joker just is not going to be enough. And I do see this going up 3-0, Logan.
Yeah, I see you've seen it with the Warriors. They're the Warriors, you know.
Right.
They know how these playoffs work, obviously. If you would have said at the beginning of the year that Steph Curry would have been in the playoffs on the bench, I would have said you're crazy.
Yeah.
But that's just how good – but honestly, Jay, that's just how good Jordan Poole's been.
Jordan Poole is just playing great, and because he's playing so good, it's actually allowed them to rest Curry for the later stages.
And also, I mean, obviously, you know, a big hand to Steve Kerr for not being afraid to put his number one player on the bench and give him reduced minutes. I get that, you know, Steph is a little bit banged up just from injuries he's had and whatnot. And I know he's had the greatest season. But, I mean, obviously go with the hot hand, right? Go with Poole, who's been very impressive, is a candidate to win most improved player, I believe. And, you know, go with what you got. And so far it's working.
And let's be honest, it takes a lot, even from Steph Curry's perspective, being the superstar of the team, to take that decreased role and understand the reasons why. And, you know, that's what I love about the Golden State Warriors. They are a team-oriented, you know, group of guys that don't have those macho mentalities of, I've got to be this out of the other. And I hate to say it, a la Russell Westbrook, you know, whatever, that think your shit don't stink and you're going to be on the court no matter what. And you're not going to come off the bench, blah, blah, blah. You know, Curry, even as great as he is understanding that he needs to come off the bench, get rested up, and then he can contribute. And he knows that Poole is riding the hot wave right now, so he's all about team first and getting those wins. And that's what I love about Curry's game. That's probably one of the other things I like about his game. Yeah,
and also Gary Payton's been doing good for them too.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, Gary Payton Jr. just put out a thing I saw on ESPN where he said that, you know, he loves Golden State for allowing him to be who he is and play his game. And, again, it just shows that Kerr maximizes his talents. And, you know, when you got that much morale going on your team, how do you not win games, Logan?
Yeah. Like I said, Golden State's a great franchise. There's a reason they won so many championships in the 2010 decade. And, you know, we'll see how they can continue their winning ways. But so far, they're looking really good against the Nuggets.
All right, folks, we're going to switch gears now and talk about these Lakers. Obviously, they are without a coach currently. And I got to be honest with you, man. I still think the best coaching available option out there, and I don't know if they can convince him to come out of there or if they're even going to try to go out, but I think Mark Jackson is the right guy for this team. I just feel like – and I've been saying Mark Jackson for a long time, and I really hope somebody will, you know, give him the opportunity to get back into coaching because – look what he did for Golden State. His ability to evaluate talent, bring in talent, develop talent, cultivate talent is just unbelievable. And as you see, Steve Kerr is reaping the benefits off of what Mark Jackson laid out for him. And what can he do with the Lakers? Could you imagine?
That's not a bad idea. That isn't. I'm going to throw another name out there. I think they could always just promote David Fizdale, right? He's on the team. You could always bring him up. And you would have to go looking far and wide. Some other names I've seen that are kind of rumored out there, Jay, Sam Cassell, who's been an assistant for a long time.
Right.
I've also seen Steve Clifford, who was, I think, recently or might still be with, I'm not sure, with the Magic, right?
Right.
So I know he's a veteran. He's been around the league for a while. So I mean, they have a bunch of options. I mean, obviously, they're going to get a coach who wants to be there, a coach who is going to have a brand new team next year.
Right.
But, I mean, honestly, does it matter who the coach is? No.
No, it really it kind of does.
What was that quote that Kyrie said earlier? Maybe it was last year or this year. He said that we don't need a head coach.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the thing is the Lakers don't need a head coach. You got LeBron. LeBron's your head coach.
They said that about Steve Nash, and they said that right, but yet they're on the brink of getting kicked out of the playoffs. So I don't know if I trust everything that Kyrie Irving says, but I do think that this, Logan, whoever takes over this Lakers job, their biggest attribute, their biggest quality has got to be leadership and the ability to stand up to upper level management and say, hey, look, I want to run this team. I don't want to have LeBron telling me who he wants, this, that, and the other. They're going to have to develop a backbone and take charge of the team. And Jenny Buss is going to have to allow, along with Pelinka, whoever else, they're going to have to allow this coach to lead this team and not allow the players to lead the team or not allow 1,000 other people come in and give their opinion. Whoever it is your coaches has got to have that backbone and the job qualifications to lead.
Yep. And it's going to be a rough ride for whoever this coach is going to be because it's going to be a very unique offseason for this Lakers team.
Absolutely, because right now the problem with the Lakers is obvious is chemistry is your biggest one. Health is your second. And strong leadership from management is probably the third biggest problem of this team.
They got a lot of issues. They're going to have a whole brand new team next year. So we will see what they do. And you know what? You know what, Jay? They should just go and hire Frankie Cruz. How about that?
Hey, Frankie Cruz Jr. get it back on there. If nothing else, it'll all be 420 friendly.
Oh, yeah. No doubt about that.
All right, let's move in. Hey, let's talk about Jay Wright, the famous Hall of Fame coach of 21 years with Villanova, decides to call it a day. And the basketball world is saddened because of it, because he is such a great coach. He has done such great things. He's 60 years old. He's spent 21 years, like you said, at Villanova. He's got 35 total years of coaching, and he's decided to hand the reins over to Kyle Neptune, who's been underneath him or working with him for the last 10 years, to take over as his replacement. He feels that Kyle Neptune has the pedigree, has the recruiting savvy, if you will, to keep this program alive and vibrant. And so they've decided to go with Kyle Neptune as his replacement. Of course, you know, Wright was a Hall of Famer, or got inducted into Naismith Hall of Fame back in 2021 last year. He's led this team to he led the team to the Final Four last year, obviously, or this year, and got beat this year, unfortunately. But he was in the Final Four, so he left off on a pretty high note. He's decided to take the job as a special assistant to the university president. That's going to be his new role now. And that's the job that he's decided to go, or that's the path that he's decided to go down. The interesting thing is, he was Naismith Coach of the Year in 06 and 08. He won 2 titles in 16 and in 18, 4 Final Four appearances. And he's one of a few handful of coaches that actually had multiple titles. Of course, you know, 3 of them, or 3 have already retired this year, in Coach K, Roy Williams, and now Wright. So that's 3 multiple title-winning coaches that have decided to retire this year and leave the game of basketball. There's maybe 1 or 2 left that are still in the league that have multiple championships, but not much. So we're seeing a really, really big turnover, and the top-name coaches leaving the game, and kind of turn it over to a new crop of young coaches to see who will be the next Calipari, who will be the next, Wright, who will be the next Coach K, and so forth. So it's going to be interesting to see how that plans out. The interesting thing is that Wright has actually had multiple offers, or at least interviews, to come and join the NBA and be a head coach in the NBA. But for whatever reason, he felt like the NBA just wasn't his calling. So he decided to not go that route. And rather than take a job as a head coach in the NBA, he decided that going in the retirement route would be better for him. But at the end of the day, man, it's a great coach coming from a great organization. And it's good to see them that if he is going to ride off in the sunset, at least he wrote it off being in the Final Four. Even though he didn't win it, it's still a good way to leave the game, that you were a winning coach. You won the Big Ten championship. And ultimately, people respect you, and you're a Hall of Famer. And now you can just kind of relax and enjoy the good life. What do you think, Logan?
Yeah, man. I mean, a historic career, like you said, Coach of the Year twice. Also has a gold medal as an assistant coach in 2020 for the U.S. team. His record is outstanding. I mean, just overall, right? Not just at Villanova, but overall, 642 and 282. That's good for almost 70%. His Villanova record is 520 and 197. That's
Can't beat that.
That is 0.725%, Jay.
Yeah,
that is
insane.
Phenomenal.
Phenomenal.
Like you said, he got there in 01, 02. They had a winning record. Then then it was kind of up and down. They were in the NIT for the first couple of years. Then in 04 and 05, a switch happened, right? They got to 16, the Elite 8 the next year, knocked out in the round of 64 and 06. Then Sweet 16, Final Four in 08, 09. Round of 32, 64, missed it in 11 and 12. They went 13 and 19. But then, Jay, after 2012-13, when they got knocked out in the first round, then he just went on a hot streak of just winning conference championships
or national championships. I mean, they finished first in their division 4 straight years in their conference. Villanova did. Obviously, they won the championship in 15 and 18, like you'd mentioned, or 16 and 18, like you'd mentioned. I mean, even this past year, they finished second in their conference with a 30-8 record, and they made it all the way to the Final Four. So, right. I mean, he had nothing. Literally, he had nothing left to prove. He's done everything you can do as a coach. He's won championships. He's gotten guys to the NBA. I mean, he was an assistant at Villanova in the early to mid 90s, and then coming back to coach him for 21 years, and probably being the best coach at that school's franchise, in that school's university. I mean, hats off to you. You know, if he wants to just stay with the school and live out his new job as opposed to going to the NBA, then hey, I don't blame him. You know, obviously it shows that he has a legit connection to the school. He enjoys being at Villanova. And, I mean, hats off to him. If this is it, then what a tremendous career that Coach Jay Wright has had.
Yeah, it really is. And let's be honest, for the amount of time that he's been there, what he's done, he's kind of rebuilt Villanova into the basketball program that they are. I mean,
oh, yeah. 100%.
You think Villanova, you think, Coach Wright. You think Duke, you think Coach K. You think Kentucky, Calipari, Roy Williams, you think North Carolina. I mean, these are coaches that have defined their school, correct?
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's what you think of when you think of Jay Wright.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, I mean, I don't think you can get a better accolade than when you think of a school, you think of a certain coach. John Thompson with Georgetown. I mean, when you think of guys like that, you automatically know what school you're talking about. Or when you think of the school in the basketball realm, you're thinking that specific coach first. So, I mean, to me that's a better accolade than the Hall of Fame, just because of the level in which you have reached in that area. Crazy. All right, folks, we're gonna move on now to Illinois star. Speaking of Illinois, we're gonna talk about Kofi Cockburn. Enters the NBA draft. And the interesting thing is, this is not Kofi's first time to enter the draft, Logan. This is his third time to enter the draft. He entered the draft in 20. He entered the draft in 21. And now he's entered the draft again in 22. And now, because it is his third time entering the draft, he is now officially NCAA ineligible to return to college basketball. So now he is all the way in. And he knows it. He knows he's all the way in. He's from Kingston, Jamaica. He's a 7'1", 285-pound center with a 7'4" wingspan, which basically with the wingspan makes him around 9 feet tall, honestly. He's a finalist, or was a finalist for the Kareem Abdul-Jabbar for the best center last year. Won the Big Ten championship, first title appearance for Illinois since 2005. And he's already signed with his agent. He's a 2-time All-American, 3 seasons, obviously, at Illinois. His main thing that he said that he felt like when he first came from Jamaica to Illinois and got on with the team, he felt like he had a lot to prove. And now he still feels like he has a lot to prove going into the NBA because he's a traditional low-post guy. And in order for him to be able to go from college and be successful at the NBA level, he's going to have to learn how to be good at pick and rolls. He's going to have to be good at setting screens. He's going to have to work on his defense. He's going to have to work on his rebounding and things of that nature. And shot blocking, obviously, he's going to have to be a little bit more physical. He does have maybe a little bit of work to do on his athleticism, but he has the height and the wingspan to do good things. He scored 341 points with his back to the rim that's ranked second in college. But I think for him to really take that next step forward, Logan, and be productive in the NBA, he's going to have to tweak his game and he's going to have to learn some new skill sets in order for him to take that next move. What do you think?
Yeah, you mentioned, this year he averaged 20 points, 10 rebounds. That's really solid. This isn't his first time declaring for the draft. Unfortunately, he cannot go back to college after doing it so many times. So he has to go. They're basically kicking him out saying, look, you can't come back. So that's cool and all that he averaged 20 and 10. But you mentioned, Jay, if he can't guard a pick and roll, he is screwed.
Right.
I mean, we just talked with Steven Adams. Why he played 3 minutes and he's not, he's on the bench tonight in the playoffs. He's not the most athletically gifted man. Now, I'm not going to say I watched all of Kofi's games, but he looks like an imposing figure, Jay. He looks like a big guy. But if he has a decent amount of lateral quickness to guard the perimeter and to just not be burnt on pick and rolls, he'll succeed. And if he don't, he's done for. I mean, that's pretty much what it takes to be a big in the NBA nowadays. Is he going to get post-ups to the basket? I mean, it depends on what team he goes to. But it's going to be interesting. And best of luck and good wishes to him as he finally goes to the draft and lets his name get called.
And Logan, let me ask you a quick question before we go on to the next topic. So he's coming into the draft. We've already talked about the deficiencies on his skills that must be worked on before he is able to be a really good dominant center. How is that going to affect his draft status? I don't see him going high in the draft because he is going to be he's going to be a project. He's got great height, great wingspan, but at the same time, his lack of skill sets, how far will that set him back in the draft?
Well, like I said, I'm not 100% aware of everything he does because I don't watch Illinois basketball games, but I will say if he is solid at guarding pick and rolls and everything we just mentioned, he'll be drafted high. But if he has to learn this, or if he's already not very good at this, Jay, he will fall in the draft to either late in the first round, in the second round, or wherever he's projected to go, he will fall because that is crucial for a big in today's league.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. And again, to echo your sentiments, I do wish him the best well wishes, and hopefully he does well, and hopefully he is able to take his game to the next level. And I think whoever gets him, they're just going to have to understand that they're taking on a project, and there will have to be some developmental things come into play. You know what? Honestly, Logan, if I was him, I don't know, Logan. I think I'd go to the G League, or maybe do they sign him and put him in the G League to develop those skill sets?
I don't. That is interesting. If he is a later round pick, then I don't see why not. But if he's already well suited, then I would put him on a team. But like I said, once the draft gets closer, we'll look more in depth at him.
Yeah,
and see what all he's like. But right now, you just hope that he's well adversed in all these categories and he can be a good big man.
Yeah, I do. I totally agree with you. Moving on now, we're talking about Wimbledon, and they're going to bar Russians from the Grand Slam. Kind of like how this all kind of came to be was it started out, with the other tennis events that they were hosting before we got to the Wimbledon. What they were doing was they were saying, okay, look, this is what the committees were saying. We're not going to allow the Russians to play the national anthem. We're not. If they win, their national anthem will not be played. The flag will not be displayed next to their name either. And one of the things that they were concerned about was if they allow these Russians to play, and because another thing they're going to have to do is they're going to have to basically say that they denounce Putin. So if the Russians or the Belarus, because Belarus is an ally of Russia, so they've also included Belarus in with the Russians being banned. And what they're saying is, hey, if you're from Belarus or if you're from Russia, if you want to play, now this is prior to Wimbledon. This is not Wimbledon we're talking about. These are the matches prior to Wimbledon. If you want to play in these matches, you're going to have to denounce Putin. You're going to have to formally come out and denounce Putin. You're not going to have the flag next to your name, and we're not going to play the national anthem. These are the requirements. So that was set in place. Then let's fast forward to Wimbledon. Now you got Wimbledon coming out, and Wimbledon is saying, hey, look, we don't know if we want them to have to go through the rigorousness of denouncing Putin because we don't want the dangers put upon their families to be on our heads. Because once they denounce Putin, then that could cause whiplashes back on their families that are still in Russia, and we don't want that danger being placed on their families. So because of those security reasons and those measures, we're just going to say Russians and Belarusians are not allowed to play at Wimbledon, period. So that means the number 2 ranked Daniel Medvedev and number 4 ranked Arena Sabalenka. She's from Belarus. He's from Russia. Will not, obviously won't be competing, and they're pretty high-ranked people, and they're not going to be allowed to compete. But you know what? I kind of agree, man. Listen, at the end of the day, the Wimbledon basically statement is, we don't want Russians to play. We're not going to allow Russians to play, or we're going to put these sanctions on Russians when they did play before Wimbledon, because we want to limit the global influence of what Russia and Belarus is doing to the Ukraine and so forth. So obviously, Europe is taking massive stances to try to limit the positiveness of what Russia is doing. They don't want to put a positive light on that. So they want to limit that influence. And basically, that's what they're doing with Russia. What do you think, Logan?
Yeah, I mean, it's just how the world is at the moment, with everything going on with both of those countries at the with all the fighting they've got going on at the moment, and it's seeking its way into the sports world, right?
Right.
I mean, you see it in every sport, really. It's not just tennis; it's everywhere. And we'll see how longer this all continues. Hopefully not. Hopefully this can all get resolved sooner, much rather than later, right? We all hope that.
Right.
And it's just that I get it. It's going to hurt all the Russian players in Wimbledon and all across sports. That they're going to have to be tied to all this for at least until this is over, right? That's got to suck for them. But like you said, man, there's just a large risk right now for everyone involved, for both countries, and Wimbledon did what they thought was right, and they're standing by it.
Yeah, and it's a sad thing, but honestly,
Right.
I agree with what's going on, and hey, it just is what it is, my friends. Last topic for two more topics. Where will Debo be traded? I like this, Logan. God, if only Jerry could convince Debo to come to Dallas. Oh, my Atlanta, how happy would I be? Here's the deal, though, Logan. Debo doesn't want to play in the Wildcat anymore. He doesn't want to come out of the end rounds. He doesn't want to be lined up as a running back. He basically wants a more traditional wide receiver role. And obviously, his success is with the 49ers has been in a traditional Wildcat type of offense, or at least a Wildcat type of run offense. And that's not what Debo's wanting. Now, I've heard there's been rumblings that the Chiefs could be in the forefront to land Debo. My question to you, Logan, is how effective will Debo be in a more traditional wide receiver role, number one? And number two, whatever team takes him on, do you think that they're going to force him to do some sort of a variant of the 49ers or whoever's Wildcat offense to take advantage of what he's already been proven to be successful at?
It's going to be interesting because, we know there's been kind of rumblings, right, within San Francisco. It's been kind of weird for them this year, honestly. We all thought that they were going to trade Garoppolo right off the bat. He's looking like he's going to be there this year. Now Debo wants to get out. And like you said, there's a lot of teams that might want him. I have a few listed here, Jay. And like you mentioned, you brought up the Chiefs. Some other teams here. I see possibly the Packers. If you want to take a pay cut, maybe. The Saints, they have 2 top 20 picks this year. The Lions also have 2 first-round picks. And the Jets have 2 first-round picks. So I think if you're the Niners, you got to trade any of those to get those picks.
Yeah, if you're Debo, you're like, damn. Outside of the Packers or Saints, let's be honest.
You're going to be the number 1 receiver, but you ain't going to be on a good team. I'll say that much. But if he wants to branch out and be that number 1 pure receiver, good for him. We'll just see how it works out. I thought what they had was a good thing going in San Francisco, but apparently not all was sunshine and roses, Jay. And
It looks like that band
doubt,
might be breaking up sooner than we all thought, right? As we thought that they could potentially, if they could improve, in the offseason and at the draft, make another run towards maybe getting close to a Super Bowl. But, I mean, if they lose Debo, it's going to be even harder.
Oh, I totally agree with you. I totally agree with you. Now, the second question I had for you was, how successful do you see Debo being at a traditional wide receiver role?
I still see him being solid. I don't know. It might take away some of those trick plays, like you said, some of those wildcat plays. But I still think he'll put up a really good job as a wide receiver. But my God, if he goes to the Jets, if he drops a pass, he's gonna get ridiculed. If he goes to Detroit, we're not going to hear about him how many years he's there for. So I still think he'll be a solid threat, though.
Right. And, so Debo, he does have the height. So he's a 6 foot tall wideout, which, I don't like the 5'11" Tyreek Hills. Because I think if you're 5'11" and you're a wide receiver, then you're going to have to be a track star to really be able to do good. Or you're going to have to be able to take a lot of hits and play the slot. What do you think?
You said what, Debo was 6 foot and Tyreek was what, 5'11"?
Tyreek's 5'11".
So, I like that. Obviously he's a little bit taller. He's got some good athleticism, obviously, but he's shown that he has some good speed, and he's a good receiver. So I think that wherever he ends up, he'll benefit whatever team gets him, as long as they're willing to part ways with one of those first round picks, or if he wants to, because I don't think the Niners are going to trade him for anything less than that.
Right. So here's the officialness on Debo. He's a 6 foot tall wide receiver out of South Carolina. He ran a 4.48 40-yard dash. He clocked in at just a tad over 19.35 miles per hour, and it ranks him 13 in the NFL in speed. Do you think if he comes out of that traditional wildcat where he's been successful at and tries to take on a more traditional wide receiver role, given maybe a little bit more modest numbers at his speed, do you think you don't think that's going to hamper him?
I think we could see maybe some of his stats go down a little bit. And obviously the corners and the safeties, they'll know to cover him a lot more.
Right.
As opposed to like the wildcat plays that he was doing. But like you said, he's got some really good speed, top 15 in the league. And if you get him on a slant route or something, he could definitely take it for a long ways. It's just wherever he goes to, it's how they use him. And I'm sure they're not going to make him go run 50 yards, throw deep bombs to him all night. But you can definitely use some of his really good athleticism to benefit your squad.
I got you, brother. I got you. And they're going to have to. Honestly. All right. Transitioning to our last topic of the evening. Should the Yankees be concerned with Garrett Cole's poor start to the season? Now, I kind of talked to Frankie about this a lot, and Frankie's kind of says he's not worried, this, that, and the other. And I get it, man. Look, we're two games into his season, right? Obviously, we're further along than that in the season, but he's only had 2 starts. And in those 2 starts, he's put up an ERA of 6.75. Not exactly Garrett Cole numbers, not exactly your number one ace numbers. He's had 5.1 innings pitched at 6 hits, 5 runs, 4 earned runs, 2 home runs, 3 walks, 10 strikeouts, with a whip at 1.688. In Detroit, his last outing, he only lasted 1.2 innings. Shortest start of his career. Apparently, he has lost a lot of the control of the strike zone. And according to him, he needs to make a pitch, but couldn't make it. That's what he said in his interview after the Detroit debacle. Now, I understand this is 2 games in, but in watching him in his interview that he gave, I'm a little concerned about his confidence, to be honest with you. Now, Aaron Boone has come out and said, maybe I let them in the game too long. I don't know how you leave them in the game too long. It was only 1.2 freaking innings. But he comes out and Aaron Boone still is kind of giving him the endorsement that, hey, Cole's going to break out. He's going to do all this, that, and the other. And most likely he probably will. But at the same time, what if this lingers for a while? Because once a pitcher starts getting confidence issues, that really takes away a lot of the tenacity that it takes to be a pitcher. You no longer have that Randy Johnson. You no longer have that Andy Pettit, Roger Clemens type of nastiness. Because now you're questioning your location. How can you get the pitch where you want it to go? And even though Frankie says he's not worried, I got to be honest with you. I'm a little worried for Garrett Cole, man. I think he's seeing some chinks in his armor, and it's got him on the ropes, and it's got him questioning himself. Logan, what do you think?
I get, he had a rough outing against Detroit, but the thing that kind of worries me a little bit, Jay, and like I said, I don't think he's going to continue this the entire rest of the season. There's a reason that this guy got signed to a huge contract. I mean, he's got ERA titles. He's always in the Cy Young contention. He was second last year. So, right. But the thing that does concern me is his walks so far, his strikeout to walk ratio.
Yeah,
12 strikeouts and 7 walks so far. And like I said, it's only 3 games in, but that is kind of concerning because he does not walk a lot of people. Throughout his whole career, he's never walked more than 70 people in a season. So
right.
That is a little bit concerning. Like I said, he's only faced 50 batters in total, but hopefully we'll see if he can get that control under tact. But I know it's not the best start to the season. I think he'll get I think he'll get it turned around. He's a great pitcher, but it is a little bit disheartening if you are a Yankees fan. Because you're wanting to, as good as the East is with the Blue Jays and the Rays and the Red Sox and everyone, you got to come firing at all cylinders throughout the whole 162, or else it ain't going to be easy. And not having your number one star pitcher on his A game, at least, for now, 3 games in the season, it's not the best look. But like I said, it is only 3 games in. We'll see how he does his next start.
So a couple of little tidbits of information, and then we'll get out of here. So the Yankees are currently 7-6, 1 game back of Toronto from first place. So the Yankees are they're not hurting. They're very much in it. But Garrett Cole is going to have to right that ship before it does get worse. But like I said, the Yankees are still doing great. I'll tell you though, Logan, the team that surprised me so far, New York Mets, baby.
Yeah, Mets are the first team to wins.
That's the best record in the league right now.
All about the Mets, baby. Yeah, they're
doing
good.
I'm just saying, this Mets team has just kind of come onto the scene, right?
Yeah, they've had a really good start to the year, and they were expected to be good. And so far through, they're the first team to get 10 wins this year, and big ups to them.
All right, folks, we are at the end of the program. Real quick, final thoughts. I'll get mine. Logan gives his, and we will wrap it up and get out. My final thought is this, and I'm just going to end it with the current score right now. Minnesota 49, Memphis 29, second quarter with 5:45 left to play. And holy crap, Logan, 20 points? I'm sure they'll be ready about 20 points when they go into the half. Are we serious? Is Memphis really? What?
I don't know what Memphis is doing. Okay, so Memphis just can't make a basket. They are shooting 29% from the field.
Bro!
That's all I need to say. 29% from the field.
Bro!
Meanwhile, Minnesota's shooting 52. So
you know what I'm saying? Damn! And everybody that ASAP was so high on Memphis. They were Memphis this and Memphis that, Memphis. And now Memphis is getting their doors blown out by a freaking play-in Minnesota freaking Timberwolves. What?
Yeah, it ain't looking good, but let's not forget too, Jay. It was Brooklyn who was up by 15 at halftime. What happened to them?
I get it. And look at what happened in Milwaukee. Milwaukee was up 16 in that one game, and then the Bulls, that was game one, and the Bulls almost took game one from the Milwaukee Bucks. So man, the point I'm making is this. Outside of the 76ers and Golden State Warriors, who have commanding positions on their opponents, the rest of this is just up in the air with craziness. And what I like about it is all the teams that we suspect or think should be the ones controlling aren't, and the ones that we thought shouldn't are. And what I love about it is there's no super team out there that is just like, okay, this is the Miami Heat from back when LeBron James was there. Or this is the Dubs from when Golden State was doing their, there's none of that superstar. I mean, it's an actual, I don't know now. I feel like it's all uncertain, and I don't know who really could win the championship this year. I think it's a lot of just up in the air, and I love that, don't you?
Yeah, I mean, it's weird too, because like I said, it is weird. There is no LeBron in the playoffs as well. As many years as he's been in the league, he's always in the playoffs. So it's a nice change of scenery too. You get to look at you get to watch Minnesota on TV every night. You get to see some of the smaller teams who you might not get to watch on national cable throughout the year and see how well they're doing. So it's nice to see. It's the joy of the playoffs. And so far all the round one, the play-in games are really good. And so far, for the most part, all the round one matchups are looking really solid. We'll see who takes this win and who gets the advantage in this series.
Absolutely. And, just to kind of close out the show, like I said, man, I love basketball when there's no predetermined finals winner. Like, we don't know. Normally, like you said, there's been a predetermined, like, we know, okay, crap, this team's going to take it. I don't care whatever happens. This team, I like it. I like the uncertainty of not really knowing who's going to win the championship, because all the teams are just all over the place. And it just makes for really exciting basketball, honestly, at this point. And, all right, folks. Hey, so tune in on Saturday. That's our next show. Hopefully we will have Frankie back with us. He'll be off. And hopefully Gonzo will be out of the hospital and rested up, and we will have a full accoutrement come Saturday for our show. And we will be obviously featuring more NBA recaps and whatever else is currently going on in the sports world. I guess until Saturday, folks, we are Unscripted. It's your boy, Jay McLovin. And it's also your boy, Logan Landers. And we will see you next time. And as soon as I can find the right clip to play for you peoples. And here we go.
All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays. 365, we making a plays. You talking the game, get you through the days. We're high in the court, then I'm in the lane. Variety, topics, living the same. All presentation, sports information. In the airways, taking the nation. Sport, all plays, like working your faces. Grace at the field, so tie the laces.